Well, hello there. Wink, wink. What you been up to? Great. Let's talk about some books. Yay, you made it. I've been waiting for you. I'm excited about this video. Today I am going to tell you what I thought was my best book of 2024. You may disagree with it wholeheartedly, or maybe you're on the same page. It doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to have some fun. All right, so when picking a favorite book out of all of the books that you have read in an entire year, sometimes that's an easy task, and sometimes not so much. All right, so you may have your methods. I definitely don't have a method. I wing it. I'm just like, I'm along for the ride, and whichever one speaks to me, whichever one touches me in a certain way, whether it be heartfelt or funny or, a thriller, it just took me on such a ride. There is a lot of different factors that one could consider in possibly choosing what that best book of the year is going to be. In past years, there are definitely books that stood out. And when I see these books today, they stand the test of time, and I have not changed my mind. They are still my favorite book of that year. I will go as far as saying in 2023, being Henry by Henry Winkler. That was my favorite book. That is the book that spoke to me. That was the book that touched me on all these kind of different levels. It was funny. It was endearing. It was realistic. It was, what do I want to say? The relationship that he had between his mother and him was less than perfect. So it was very human-like, even though he has a celebrity status and an image and all of that, he just told it like it is. And I think that's an eye-opening experience for maybe those of us who don't get along with certain family members or people, to be able to actually publicly admit to that, to put it down on paper for all of eternity. There's no changing your mind once you get that pen to paper and it's out there in the world. There's no changing your mind. You can't take that back. So you have to be pretty sure of what you're saying. So I really, really appreciated that, that honesty about him. So yeah, not that I, have any kind of those issues in my life, but I'm just saying I really, really appreciate that, because I know sometimes family and sometimes friends and people and can be, not on the same wavelength as us, and it can make it kind of difficult. But I kind of don't want to call anybody out until they absolutely make me. So with that said, I want to say this before we get into the books. There are an awfully lot of nice people out there. You people out there make me so happy with the comments that you say. Most recently, somebody said, "Happy New Year to my favorite bibliophile." And I was like, wait, what? Who are they talking to? Are they addressing me? Me? Your favorite? Blush. But I just wanted to say I am so grateful for all the nice comments and all the kind words that you send my way. Much, much, much appreciated. Okay, so now let's get into what books I have, sitting on the shelves in my mind that I'm going to pull out, and then we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to pick that favorite book. And in the comments, if you would please let me know what your favorite book of 2024 is. One thing that I love to do is bring you books, but I also love to read the books that you recommend. It's not a one-way street on my channel. The traffic is flowing both ways. I'll tell you, you tell me. We're all one big happy family. All right, so if you don't mind, I wrote these books down on paper because I'm an old lady and the mind doesn't work the way that it used to. We're not quite as spry as we once were. Okay. Tea in hand and checklist to go alongside of that. All right, so now I'm going to have to take my glasses off. Okay, so guess what? These are some of the books that have made the final cut. All right. I just did a video on The House of Gucci by Sara Gay Forden. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Okay. I also read books such as The Many Lives of Mama Love by Lara Love Hardin, and a book that kind of holds its hand and nestles in nicely beside it is The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. They're like, those two people are, friends, they're acquaintances, and the story of how that came to be is wonderful and marvelous, and you know what? It's a small world. It really is. But these two people both had different sets of problems that they had to work through, and in doing that they found each other, and Anthony wrote a book and Laura helped him to write that, and I had to read them back to back. And you know what? Here's the strange thing. I had both of those books on my shelf and didn't even know that, they could be like cousins. I love my memoirs. I really do. Delta Lady by Rita Coolidge. That is one of the very few books that I read twice. The reason why I read that twice is because I bought the physical copy of it. But this year on, I believe it was Audible, they had it on sale. I don't know if it was $1.99. It was on sale, and who doesn't want to listen to that lovely voice of Miss Rita Coolidge tell her story? So will that one make the cut since I read it twice? I don't know. You'll have to watch till the end to find out. Okay, I also read Writers and Lovers, and who wrote that? Lily King. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, that is not going to be my favorite. That was for a mature audience, and let me tell you, I am not that audience. There are people younger than me who have read it. I was watching a book channel, Noel Gallagher, and, she was what got me into BookTube, and she's no longer active on BookTube, and that's a shame because I miss her, but she was one that recommended it, and of course if Noelle said, read this book, I'll read that book, because, I highly valued her as an intelligent young lady, so, but that book was not for me. Okay. What do we have here? The Meaning of Mariah KY by Mariah KY. Now, some of you people out there, Mariah's not your thing. She's a little bit uppity, but I get a kick out of her. She tells it like it is, and I get a kick out of her. So I want to read her book. I did. I loved it. Moseying on, we have Every Little Step by Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown is, to me, funny. When he did his little show with Whitney years and years ago, I didn't watch it as it was airing, but years later I became privy to it, and I did go back in time to watch some of them, and I'm telling you, that is just a hilarious show. I haven't seen all the episodes, but my God, when Whitney's in that parking lot, when she's trying on those sunglasses in the gift shop, if you have seen those shows, you know what I'm talking about. And they're just funny. They're funny together. And so, yeah, I want to read Bobby's story. And also, I wanted to know what life with Whitney was like. So I read that one. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed that one tremendously. H is for hawk, because you know why? Sometimes I need to get in touch with nature. I do. I need to, I don't know, nature soothes the soul. It eases my mind. So I read H for hawk, and that one was by, oh, I don't remember who that was by. I'm so sorry, but I will put that in my description below if anybody wants to know. But anyways, well, here, you could see who it's by here, and my apologies for that one, for not knowing that one. Okay, a book that I love by Linda Rutledge. Woo, did I love this book? It made me cry. It made me cry. I didn't cry too much with the books that I read this year, but West with Giraffes made me cry. I am an animal lover, and this was such an adventure trying to transport this giraffe to a different location, and the people that they met along the way, and just, it was just a wonderful book. And you know, I kidded around, but maybe not, of replacing my all-time favorite book, East of Eden, with this one. And you know what? I have to say, I read East of Eden when I was 30. So, of course it was, I liked what I read. But I wonder if I read that now, if it would still be my favorite. Or have I changed? Have I grown as a reader? I don't know. And I don't know if I'm up for reading it again, because I like to move forward in a forward motion. So maybe I'll never know. Barbra by Barbra Streisand. Now, I have to say, with Barbra, I am not all about Barbra, but I like Barbra. I appreciate Barbra. I appreciate Barbra's journey. I think Barbra is fun. I had a good time with the book Barbra. I really did. I can't say anything about that book other than it's a little bit long-winded. I think it's 1,040 pages long, and she doesn't leave any stone unturned. I mean, she literally will go through the day and tell you every second of that day, which I don't really think she'd like to do that, but I think that Barbra likes to talk, and so, you know, we did that, and yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Another book that I read is Feeding the Soul by Tabitha Brown. I love Tab. I love her. I've been watching her for years. I don't sit down and watch her, but I have her on in the background, you know. Well, I used to. I don't so much now, but I always had a good time. She's a upbeat, peppy, lovely, beautiful human being, and you know, whenever I do get the chance to tune in, I always have a good time with her. So anyways, Feeding the Soul. And guess what? Can you see how like eclectic my book choices are? We're all over the board, aren't we? We haven't gotten any like sci-fi or horror in there. I don't typically read a lot of sci-fi. I will, but I don't gravitate towards it. I'm getting a lot more into the horror. I would say I'm more true crime than I am horror, but you know, I like to read my horror at Halloween. But I also like my horror to be convincible. You know, I don't want to read something this silly. And I'm not saying like The Exorcist, which I did read this year. I'm not saying that's silly, but I am saying, I better watch what I'm saying. I don't know. I know what I'm thinking, but I don't know if I have the hacky sacks to say it. So I'm just going to leave it there. All right, here we go. Okay. Savage Harvest by Carl Hoffman. Woo! What a book. What a book. My goodness. This is the story of that young Rockefeller gentleman who went on expeditions over into areas of the world where he really shouldn't have been. And he encountered some headhunters, and let me tell you, perhaps he should have stayed home that day. Excellent book. Would recommend it. Page turner for sure. And a book that was thought-provoking. It really got my wheels turning. Death Valley by Melissa Broder. Yeah. As the story started to unfold and we find the character in the desert with low cell phone to no cell phone battery power, and like just sips of water and something about shoes, I remember. Will she make it? Is she going to survive? What would I do? What would you do? Could this really happen? Absolutely it could. Now, how are we going to handle this? So that was definitely a book where I placed myself in the position of the character, and I was thinking, what the double HE hockey sticks would I do? I'm going to say that was a fun book. That was a fun book because I'm a thinker, and I definitely did some thinking in that one. Okay. Helter Skelter by Bugliosi. Yes. Okay, so that was a pretty thick one, and that was a very interesting one. Some things I knew, some things I didn't. Extremely graphic in the bringing the scenery of the crime to life and the people to life. Strong stomach. You need a strong stomach for this book. Okay. The Butchering Art. Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine. Now, I read this book in the pool with a glass of wine, and it was astonishing, the things that were revealed to me. And thank God for Joseph Lister. Thank God. Oh, I cannot imagine living back in the Victorian era and having to endure the things that these people had to endure. Wonderful book. And the final book to make the list is And a Hard Rain Fell, a GI story of the war in Vietnam. Now, of all of those books, we are narrowing it down to three. And I narrowed it down according to how the book made me feel and what it conjured up inside of me. Did it touch my heart? Did it put a smile on my face? Did it thrill me, scare me, excite me? What did it do? So that when I just read the title or look at the book, I just know. We are narrowing it down to 3 books. And those books are going to be Death Valley by Melissa Broder. It is going to be And a Hard Rain Fell, a GI's story of the war in Vietnam. And the final book is The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's Quest. Those 3 books. West with Giraffes. I should throw that in there too. Okay. I'm just going to go with the 3 books. You know what? I'm getting Death Valley out. Get Death Valley out of there. Let's put West with Giraffes in there. Because that was touching. That made me cry. That has to be in there. All right, we have that. Now, out of those 3, I am picking And a Hard Rain Fell, or drum roll please, no, not the drum roll yet, okay, or The Butchering Art. Now out of these 2, now we can have a drum roll. We are going with The Butchering Art. The Butchering Art, because that son of a gun made me think. And that son of a gun told me things I didn't want to know, but I do know now. And that son of a gun of a book, I mean, oh, it was hard. It was just very, very hard. Very hard. But, yeah, the butchering art. I'm going to go with that one. So, first place is the butchering art. Second place is And a Hard Rain Fell. All right, so they are my 2 favorite books of 2024. Don't forget to comment what yours is. Until we meet again, know that I love you. Don't let those bad days win. And when you dream, make sure you are dreaming big.